Hello and welcome back to my photography channel. Today's video will be talking about my first foray into film photography that I started last year with the Olympus OM-2n film camera. This is going to be the first video in a film photography series. Later videos will cover my experiences with the Holga, a medium format camera, and my Konica TCX, probably my last camera that I bought earlier this year. So at what point did I become interested in film photography? Compared with some other well-known vloggers, I didn't really get into serious photography until mirrorless cameras came available. Therefore, the use of more serious, advanced film SLR cameras completely passed me by. Up until the purchase of my first serious digital camera back in 2012, I only really used basic point-and-shoot automatic film and digital cameras, and now looking back at those images, decent ones are few and far between. So this all changed for me, like I said, back in 2012 when I purchased my first digital mirrorless interchangeable camera, the Olympus Pen EPL2. It came with a kit lens and I bought it in a clearance sale, like I said, back in about May 2012. So I've been shooting seriously, or more seriously now, for a good 8 years. This marked my start of getting into photography in a bigger way. Having just bought the most expensive camera I'd purchased to date, it was at that time that I started looking for how I could expand my lens collection but without spending a lot of money. One such alternative was the use of old film camera lenses adapted for use onto digital cameras. And that's exactly what I did. At the time, Konica AR lenses were a popular choice due to the performance-cost ratio. So for a time I experimented with the use of these older lenses on my digital camera. It was at this point that I first started to see the benefit of using these older film lenses. For example, they were quality pieces of kit, all metal construction, and the bokeh that they produced and rendered in my images was just like nothing I'd ever seen before. Also, as you are required to manually focus with older legacy lenses because they don't have the electrical contacts and compatibility with more modern digital cameras, it really forces you to slow down to use the lenses because you have to change the aperture manually and then you also have to focus your subject manually. So all that forces you to take things a little bit slower, think more about your composition and ensure that you get the image that you want to capture. It's hard to explain, but when I first started to use older lenses with my digital camera, and then again when I took up film photography last year, the whole shooting experience just becomes purer, rawer almost. It takes you back to the very essence of what photography is about, and it makes it much more enjoyable. When you're practicing film photography, you're very cognizant that the film and the processing is very expensive, or can be very expensive, especially if you buy some of the more rarer, well-known films like Portra. Further to that, it also takes a lot longer to process a film image than it does a digital image. There's always extra steps that you don't have to do with digital images, like the removal of dust and other blemishes in the film. Another thing to keep in mind with film photography is when you've taken a picture, there's no good looking on the back of the screen because it won't really tell you a lot unless you've stuffed what kind of film you're using in the back. You'll have to wait until you process it to see what the image will turn out like. So this helps you to try and get as much as you can right in the camera when you take the shot because you don't want to waste film. So for me, seeing and capturing interesting compositions is one of the aspects of photography I really enjoy. So to slow this part of the photography down by using older film lenses or film photography, it really extends the enjoyment I get from photography. So coupled with the exhilaration and excitement you get when you know you've captured something special, you wait patiently until you get the negatives back, process the negatives and then see your final images and relive that excitement That is one of the most important aspects of photography for me, and film photography really enhances this enjoyment. So the following set of images are some of my real favourites that I took with these legacy lenses adapted to my digital camera. However, as my native digital camera lens collection started to grow and I moved on to more advanced digital cameras, my love and my use of legacy lenses started to dwindle. So what rekindled my love for film photography, and why did I get into it in a more serious way? It was a combination of things really. I joined a camera club, so I was immediately exposed to images from film cameras and, more importantly, from monochrome black and white images, which I really got into in a big way. That leads me on to point 2. I started using Silver Efex Pro 2, part of the old Nik collection of plugins, now owned by DxO, to process my digital images and in effect convert them into monochrome. The good thing with the plugin is that you can try different film types, different filters, so you can change the look and feel of all your digital images to suit your mood, in effect. So that really opened my eyes up into what film photography could offer. And 3 was probably seeing the enjoyment and look of film from other more experienced vloggers, such as Steve O'Nions. He was probably the one that convinced me to pick up the Holga, so thank you, Steve. And finally, 4, I remembered how I felt when I was using the old legacy lenses on my digital camera, and that it slowed you down and really helped focus your mind on your composition and enhance the enjoyment of my photography. So it was about April last year that I decided that I was going to get my first film camera to give film photography a real good go with. So having built up an extensive Konica AR lens collection, my first foray into film photography wasn't with Konica at all. It was with the Olympus OM-2n, as I showed you earlier. Although looking back, it's easy to see why I did pick this camera to be my first. Just look at it. It looks great. And also, it fits with my philosophy in being small, compact, and relatively light for a film SLR camera. For me, they have struck the perfect balance between size, weight, functionality, and usability. So I was drawn to see where it all started for them. And like I said before, the camera looks great. I picked this up for about 130 quid on eBay. It is a bit expensive, but I wanted to make sure that the camera was in good condition and would serve me for a few years without really worrying about any maintenance issues. I opted for this model, the OM-2n version, not the OM-1 version, because this version does come with an aperture priority mode, whereas the old Olympus OM-1 was fully manual. This still does have the manual control, so if I want to experience what full manual feels like, I can do. As you can probably see, the camera is in great condition. It came with a 50mm f1.8 lens, and a friend in the camera club gave me, or loaned me, his 28mm Olympus f2.8 for the same system. So far in the last 12 months with the camera, I've used 8 rolls of film, 2 black and white or monochrome and 6 colour, including 2 expired E6 colour films which I was also given. My favourite film so far for monochrome has been the Ilford HP5 Plus 400, and for colour, surprisingly, it's been the Fujifilm Superia X-Tra 400 film that I've really enjoyed using. Here is a selection of my favourite images that I've taken with these film types. Thanks for watching, see you next time.